All right. So, let me start by introducing myself, and I would like you to have an understanding of what I do. So basically, I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you are able to see my screen. And also, I just want to thank you for availing yourself to take part of this meeting session.
All right.
Okay. All right. All right. Can you let me know if you can see my screen?
It's coming up. Yeah.
About that.
No, I understood you perfectly.
All right. Thank you. So let's get into the topic of our meeting today. I will give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. And before that, I just want to let you know that I did some research about you going through your LinkedIn profile. And I discovered that you have been in the professional world since 2011, and you started working as an administrator in Bosca. I don't know what it means. Maybe you tell us more. You also worked as a data monitor in 2018 and started in the HR field in 2019. And today you're working as an HR manager at KNCV Nigeria. I also saw that you have volunteered for two companies, so the National Youth Service Corps and National Nigeria Spelling Bee. That was from 2018 up to 2019. I found something really interesting that you have received 17 recommendations from your colleagues, and you have recommended 3 people. So this is very interesting, and I'm really excited to find out more about you and to learn about your experience. Would you mind introducing yourself? So your name, um, where are you located? What is your current position? Although I shared it, but if there's more detail that you want to provide, that would be great.
All right. Thank you, Mercy. My name is Daniel Onouha. I am a professional human resource person, licensed in 2021. I have my professional human resource international license. Um, so you mentioned about the administrative role. I actually worked in the educational sector as an administrative staff, where we helped also with the accounts, school fees for the students. We keep the payrolls for the teachers, and we also monitor the school curriculum. So that was solely the angle, and that was immediately I left high school. Prior to the time I was waiting for my entrance into college and university. So moving to my data monitor role, I took up a role as a data monitor with WHO. That was in 2018, and where we helped people that are in need during polio vaccinations, and also vaccinations for cases of HIV. We did food distribution as well for people who were in the midst of the insurgency as well. We also distributed antiretroviral drugs for people um, um, who had HIV. We also helped in the sensitization and the outreach in this area. But then, fully, I recognized that I have a very strong skill as a people person, and I was also more interested into the human resource angle because I had a background as a I studied international relations and history from the University of Nigeria. So, so we had cases where we went for student tryouts, and then I was able to find out that I'm quite skilled in that area. So it was very, very major for me to decide that I would practice human resources. When I started my human resource, I started as an administrative support in Acted, Nigeria. Acted is a humanitarian organization that has its headquarters in France and also implemented in Nigeria, in northeast Nigeria, where there were cases of insurgency due to the Boko Haram terrorism that happened in that area and the capture of the Chibok girls that was quite global. So we helped in the distribution of food for people who were our beneficiaries, and then to the affected communities. I was serving there as a role of HR support and admin support at that time. Then from there, I was promoted to the role of the administrative and HR generalist, where I now developed myself more into more generalist roles that included recruitment, payroll, strategy and policy, management of leave, database management, and a whole lot of other things. From there, I also worked briefly at Job Hopkins, that's Japaigo. They were basically a developmentals that were into medicals. They helped in maternal child care, HIV, tuberculosis, and also assisted people in other ways like treating of hepatitis and all that. So from there, I also worked under the Swede embassy for charity homes, where they were more like they were more focused on child education because currently the northeastern part of Nigeria is regarded as the least educated part of the country. So there was a whole lot of consciousness of trying to help improve the educational system in the northeast. So I worked as the HR manager there for 1 year. It was quite challenging due to the number of terrorist attacks that occurs there often. So from there, I decided to move to Abuja, that is the capital of Nigeria, where I'm currently working with KNCV under USID project. It's a 5-year project currently for tuberculosis and HIV. I also manage my teams across 14 states in Nigeria. I don't know what that is in your area, but 14 states is like I don't know how to give you an example. Like we have Dallas, we have Memphis, we have like if you come to the USA, I'm giving you an example. So here we help with the processing of staff day-to-day activities, strategy for team formulation of policies, payroll management, promotion, staff crisis management, psychological support, and a whole lot of other things which I cannot go into full details right now. So for me personally, I'm a very people person. I love challenges. I'm quite techy as well. So I love trying my hands on new things and also supporting my team in the best way I can. So that's just, I would say, a brief about myself. A lot of people say that I'm quite how will I say? I'm talking about my weakness because I always like talking about my weakness as well. They complain that I'm a very blunt person, and I think that's why people don't like hearing the truth the way it is these days. So that's part of the things I've noticed that people complain. I just call a spade a spade, and I know sometimes you need some levels of diplomacy, but then sometimes we also try to tell people the truth. But then sometimes they say the truth is bitter. So that's one weakness about me.
Wow. Interesting. Usually people struggle to speak about their weaknesses, or sometimes they're just not aware of what their weaknesses are. But you being aware of that and willing to share that, that's really great, and I appreciate. Um, okay, nowadays we have several types of working modes. Sometimes people work remotely, in a hybrid mode, or on site. What is your current working mode?
Okay, currently I work hybrid. I work 3 days on and 2 days off currently in my current organization because the USAID is quite particular about work-life balance. So they give us that opportunity
Yeah.
to do a 3 day on at the office and then 2 days off at home.
Wow, interesting. And if you had an opportunity to choose, which type of working mode would you choose?
I think I was just speaking about this with some colleagues not too far ago. Both of the work arrangements, both the hybrid work system and on-site work system has its advantages, but then due to current trends in HR and everything, everybody wants to work remotely and all that, which I also appreciate. But I also appreciate the benefits of working on site, communicating with people physically, trying to get to know the people I work with on a more social and emotional sense of it, being able to picture people for what they do and not just what I can get from them. Like, people are not vending machines, so they have emotions. So being able to interact with them would give you more idea of who they are in particular and how best to work with them. But then I don't mind working in any work arrangements at all.
Wow. I completely understand you. Like for me, I have worked on site and working on like remotely. But to be honest, I think working in a hybrid mode would be better. Not only the physical experience that you mentioning, because that's really important, especially when you work in the human resources. Sometimes you just need to have this personal contact with people, but staying indoors for a long period of time can be really draining. And I think the hybrid working mode would be is good though, because you have this exact balance between work and your personal life. You mentioned something really interesting regarding the terrorism when you were working. Can you please tell me more about that? Like, how did it impact your work somehow? Did you learn anything from it? Like, what is your experience overall? And has it stopped or it's still ongoing?
Sorry, I didn't get that question.
I'm referring to you mentioned terrorism when you were presenting yourself and you worked and there was terrorism and AIDS going on. And I want to know, is that terrorism ongoing and how you working in such environment impacted you?
Oh, okay. Like I mentioned earlier, it wasn't easy at that time, but currently I'm in the federal capital, where I've been able to work in a more safe place. But relatively, nowhere is like 100% safe in the world. But then here you have a like an assurance of your safety. But when I was working in Acted, in I also when I worked under the Swiss embassy, Terry the Holmes funded project. It was not easy because you could be in your work place and you hear bombings. You hear that someone, a colleague, had died. I've lost several expert staffs who I just met. It was sometimes very traumatic, but then they always provided us a means to speak about our vulnerability, psychological safety, where we talk about how we felt about certain things, and also they were very conscious about our mental health. So, and then in the areas of safety, I think the humanitarian development sector in the Northeast had a a high this thing priority for security. So everybody was prioritized because you see humanitarian workers being kidnapped for ransom, some being killed. If you are a Christian, they might kill you, or they ask you to convert to Islam. Sorry, it's not as if I'm saying Islam is a bad or a religion that kills, but then these are the kind of experiences that we experienced there. And some points I was affected mentally, but then I was able to adjust and overcome that due to the support system I had, and also due to the nature of openness that everyone was able to air their vulnerabilities. So that was how I was able to overcome that, and I'm 100% okay. I went for therapy, and I'm 100% okay right now.
Wow. I was about to ask you if you undergo through a therapy session, because I can understand that can be really traumatizing. And has it changed anything on about you, like on a personal level, the way you see things or the way you see life?
Yeah, I believe haven't traveled. Nigeria is quite a very vast place. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Nigeria is quite a very is a vast country, so it's one of the benefits I say I had was that it helped me to see life from different perspective. I began to see that oftentimes what we are told or meant to believe are not actually how those things are, because although we that are in the more western part of Nigeria, or western inclined part of the country, like in the southern part of the country, I could say we have life more easier, and we are meant to believe that there were no good people coming from that second, the northern part of the country, because we felt that all of them were bad and terrorists and all that. But then I was able to see that there were very good people in every place you find yourself, even good, more people that I would say that are more that good souls than people that I know back from and all that. So it helped to create dismantle that bias that certain things, or creates a sense of inclusiveness whenever I want to do things. And then was able to see smart people, because like I mentioned earlier, I told you that the northerners, or the northern part of the country, their educational level we are actually not encouraging. But then I was able to see people who were very bright and smart, who give challenges, who were open to work, who were hardworking, and able to see the passion in these people. So these are the kind of experiences I had. First of all, I was able to unlearn and learn a lot of things. And then secondly, I was able to take up challenges of trying to put myself in situations where I put others first before myself, because I've seen in work scenarios where I was able to give up my comfort because I need to accommodate other people who they are not in a bit secure places and all that. I was able to support colleagues, reach out to people, communicate more. So it actually built my communication level and also increased my consciousness for security. So I went for a lot of training to build my capacity, and I was also thankful for the experience in its entirety.
Well, definitely. I'm sure this should have like changed you, and that's really evident because going through all this isn't easy for anyone. So,
Yeah.
I know you have like you're working as a human resources agent since 2019, and you've worked for a lot of companies. Especially the area in which you work is a bit particular. So, what do you like about your job?
Okay, for me, human resource is very dynamic, and I like working in a non-static place. You understand? I used to tell people that whenever it seems I can't cause change in a place I work, I don't see a value for me to be there anymore. So if you noticed in my CV, Arcade was one of the places where I've worked the most. That was about 3 years, and that was because I found out that they had the kind of challenges that I need. I don't really work because of the money or the pay I get. I work because I want challenges. And once it seems that the work is becoming monotonous, and I'm trying to facilitate some changes that can make a better work experience for myself and others, and it seems that there's a kind of misunderstanding between me and the management, I usually like to take the exit
All right. And what do you like the least about working as a human resources agent?
at those times. It's not as if I'm a quitter, but then I try to align myself, express myself where my voice is to be heard. I don't like to be a human resource person that is just there for the position. I like facilitating change anywhere I work. So I've been to some places, and I've worked. Sometimes due to the nature of the project was actually short, I had to leave. But then I've actually left because I felt the work environment was not sustainable. It was not sustainable for the staff. I saw that a lot of experiences, the work-life balance, the compensation, everything was not favorable, and it seems everybody did not care little about that. Everybody did not care about that. So when I tried to make some changes, it felt as if my changes were outlandish. So I had to take my leave at those work situations. So those are more of the things I've faced. But then I know there is a second subset to your question. Can you come again so I can just break it down, please?
No, I think you've answered to my question. You've answered
Okay.
my question. Yeah. So, you mentioned that usually you leave, like you've left some companies because of the monotonous duties that you had to do every now and then, or things that were going within the organization didn't match with the way you see things. So you work in the human resources. That means you have recruited people as well, right?
Yes, I've done a lot of
So,
recruitment. I've recruited over 1,000 people.
wow. All right. So let's say like you have this person coming to an interview, and at least you have worked for three years in one organization, and you have someone coming through and they share with you, maybe they have worked with 4 or 5 companies within a year. Then as a recruiter, you feel like commitment issue is there. What would be your judgment about this person?
Okay, I think before I came to work on the USID project, after a whole lot of background checks because they needed to find out why I've left in those places, and for example, I could confirm to you I have a very stellar references from my workplaces because I never allow things to go bad before I leave. When I see such things in people's CV, I first of all look at the reason why this person leaves. I look at the reason
Mm,
why you left. Basically, the circle that we have, it's we are very highly connected, especially in the humanitarian and development sector in Nigeria. So it's easy for you to reach out for employees records which are public for you to access, which are not like public, which are mandatory for you to access, because we have an NGO forum where all the HRs of all the non-governmental organizations are members, so you can easily reach out. So I first of all try to establish the reasons why the person left. Was it because of the job satisfaction? Was it because maybe they have been exploited in compensation? Because some organizations are quite have been found wanting in such areas, or is it people that are like myself that we love challenges? For example, I can't see myself doing the same KPI for 2 years and nothing has been added, no responsibility. And when I try to take initiative, the management say I'm overreaching. Or when I try to see that, for example, the cost of living in the country is skyrocketing, and I try to do a COLA, that's a cost of living adjustment for staff, so that at least they can be able to have a very good take home. Management sees it as if we are asking for too much. Meanwhile, it now happens to diminish the quality of the people I have working with me because during recruitment, nobody will want to go to a place where the compensation is not enough. So the quality of work reduces, the quality of staff reduces, your high performance leaves, and the only people you could be able to attract are people who just want the job because of maybe they want to get into the system or they want to get some experiences. So we begin to see that an all around this thing is happening. And when I try to push and it seems the management is not doing a lot of things, because I could tell you the truth, there's a lot of bureaucracy, especially when it comes to change. People don't really like change as much as they speak about it. So when I
yeah.
see those things, I would like to leave because I wouldn't want to work in a place where it seems I'm working in mediocrity.
Okay. Thank you. So, for someone who wants to work in the human resources field, especially in the humanitarian sector, is there any particular course that they need to take?
Yeah, for me, having an idea of administration, psychology, business management is one of the courses you can take. But aside that, there are professional courses you can take as a human resource person because in Nigeria you have to have some certification at least and license for you to practice as a human resource person. And also there are international licenses that are provided by HRCI. You can also have the SHRM and SHPSI and PMP. So all those things kind of give you the established platform for you to be able to understand what human resource is all about. But then I could tell you that it doesn't really give you a full knowledge. It will give you the theoretical aspect of it, but then the experience of working with people is something you gain by actually being with those people, being in such situation, being open to such scenarios, and being able to determine and make decisions that would be very changing in a positive way. That's where you gain the on-field experience. but you can get all the theoretical aspects. And when you see scenarios, you go back to your books and you never see those things before. So that's just the kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
can't tell you, there are people that have had life experiences where they've been exposed to making decisions, where they've been exposed to changing things, formulation of policies, finding more seamless way of doing work, and they've not had any theoretical or academic background in human resource. So there are people that I would say that they are born HR people, but then a lot of people or school of thought will disagree. But then it's not just about what you read; it's more about what you can do.
Definitely, definitely. And talking about these people who maybe haven't done any course like that, do you think there is any transferable skills that one can bring into your working sector?
Yeah, there are transferable skills. For example, I used to tell people in HR, you don't just, it's not more about the hiring and firing. You can also incorporate sales in HR. You can also incorporate branding in HR. You can also incorporate communications in HR. You can also incorporate to some great levels, some areas of audits. Um, you don't, as a HR person, one of the key things that have actually kept me afloat, especially in this project, USID, because they are quite strict about their project, is I don't wait for the circle for audits to come before I try cleaning up my house or try to find where I have flaws. Do you understand? So the transferable skills are you have to be a proactive person. Do you understand? If you're a proactive
Yeah.
person, you can easily transfer to HR or transfer to other places because being proactive is one of the key things of being on top of your game in every sector that you can go in. So you don't wait for things to occur before you take initiative. You try to anticipate, strategize on how best to handle scenarios that you can expect that is happening. And when you see things happening in other organizations, you don't wait for it to happen in yours before you take the initiative to maybe if it's something like a training gap you feel that your staff do not have for them to train them on that. For example, I would literally know that keeping staff who work in the deep field, male and female, in the same guest house area, there could be cases sometimes of sexual harassment. So I don't wait for those, try to train them prior before sending them there about the do not of sexual harassment, sexual exploitation before, because these are grown-up people and there are certain things that the organization would not like, and there are certain identities or brand that you don't want to see attached to the organization name. So these are the things that you can anticipate that could happen. But someone that just wants to do human resource will wait for those things to happen, then start doing medicine after that. And I don't like working in such scenarios.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And as we know, like there's no easy job. Every job has challenges. So for someone who's willing to join your industry and like is excited about the job and everything else, what should they expect? Like what kind of challenges should they expect?
Well, the challenges you will expect from a HR angle is that you would never please everybody. That is just the truth. No matter how you try, no matter how you skin yourself, no matter how you give yourself, no matter the sleepless nights, even if you can sleep by 2 p.m. or sorry, 2 a.m., some people will still be like you don't do enough because we are not the kind of jobs that we are out there. We are not in front of the paparazzi and all that. So we are kind of the people in the background. So sometimes the work you do is not really recognized until maybe when you leave, they'll be like, since you left, this has not been happening. Since you do this, this has not been happening. So that's part of it. Then secondly, HR is a department or a job role that incorporates other departments. So for someone like me that is up and proactive, and I work with people, let's say in the finance, when it comes to payments of some consultants who we need to carry out some things. Finance have a lot of bottlenecks when it comes to agreeing to make certain payments. So it could delay, especially when you know there could be ways around it that could also be compliant to the organization policies. But then they just like having a straight a tunnel vision to some certain things. Also, in the terms of logistics, in fact, when you have people that have different pattern of work, do you understand, or different strategy of work,
Mm.
they may not be able to adapt to yours. So that's the second challenge. And then the third challenge is the challenge of you having to be emotionally sound. Do you understand?
Yeah,
In HR,
I definitely
you
agree.
could you can easily be manipulated if you are not emotionally sound. You get complaints from people. Some people would even want to put people they don't like in trouble. They'll bring stories to you that if you are not someone that is emotionally strong, you may not be able to take the right decisions, or you are not going to be objective in your judgment. So those are some of the three challenges basically. But though it differs for a whole lot of people.
Right. Thank you so much for raising these important things. And I can agree with you. Usually we have impression like HR, they do nothing, they're there just to fire or to do this and that. But and people usually are excited to know like, oh, I'm going there, I'm working as an HR, I'll be helping people, giving them jobs, I'll be this kind person. But knowing that one cannot please everybody is really important as it can help someone to prepare themselves mentally to be able to overcome such scenarios or situations when they occur. So, we know the world is changing, especially with technology, the human resources world. Like some tasks, I can say, are being done by AI, or we have tests that are being done online and everything else. But again, a big part of the job is still being done by human beings. According to you, where do you see the human resources in 10 years? Do you think it's going to change? People will get less jobs? Anything that you feel comfortable sharing about this topic?
Okay, when we talk about human resource, do we talk about in terms of the workforce in general, or just more like human resource as a profession?
I'm referring to the profession, but if you want to talk about the workforce in general, by all means, you can share your knowledge on that.
Okay, like what I would like to take us back a little bit to before the locomotive engine was discovered. That was before the 1600s, right? The locomotive engine, that's the train, the use of train. People were using horses to transport goods, and then when there was a train, people decided that they could learn the skill of learning how to drive a train. So the same thing happened when the Weber brothers discovered the use of the aeroplane. People learned how to fly the aeroplane. So the same as AI, yeah, I don't think I usually see a whole lot of outcry when people complain AI is gonna take over all the jobs. So AI is built by a man or built by human beings, and then for you to stay on top of the game, you have to adapt your skills to what the current job opportunities available demands. So as a HR person, I think we need to more like metamorphose from the traditional aspect of HR to integrate a whole lot of other things. For example, nobody knew that we could be doing a telework before
Yeah.
COVID. Do you understand? But COVID, I could say, brought about a lot of experiences. I was speaking with someone, the person told me that he has been working to 10 years prior COVID-19. He told me that after COVID-19, that all the experiences he had in HR was reduced to nothing, because now you can have candidates boldly asking to write tests from the comfort of their homes, doing interviews from the comfort of their homes, hybrid work systems, sometimes organizations that do overtime and all that. How do you monitor performance when people are not coming into the office and all that? So these are kind of the things that we have learned as human beings to adjust from. Human beings, we are adaptive in nature, and I believe we continue to adapt. And for HR in particular, I think there is no job that can be done without HR in code, because there seems to always be a sense of organizing things putting things in order, people that will be able to wash the dirty linens, people that will be there to make sure that the policies are kept, everybody is keeping adherences, people to ensure that the policies of the organizations are well adapted to the current change in the labor force and all that. So for me, you say 10 years, but I don't see HR leaving too soon. But maybe the name could metamorphose into something else, but then the integrate part of it would still be there.
All right. Thank you so much, Daniel. My next question would be, many people like they complain, especially when they come straight from university or college, it's hard for them to be employed. And usually they blame the human resources because they expect people maybe to have a bachelor's degree or a master's plus 10 years of experience. And this person, like 10 years, I was supposed to be studying, and now you expect me to have the degree and the experience again. And it makes it hard for people to get into the working environment as soon as possible. What do you think about that?
Okay, I'll look at this from the two sides of a coin. For example, HR people that usually are school leavers for 10 years experiences, I would say, to be blunt with you, are not professionals, because it's called an entry level role. So entry level role means they are trying to gain experiences. It could be an internship, or it could be an associate, it could be assistants or people, and those roles are particular to give experiences. And these are kind of the changes I was able to initiate in my workplaces. If you look at the job adverts I posted recently about some um, entry level roles, you see 1 to 2 years experience or 1 year experience or something like that. But then, from the aspect of the people complaining they don't have any job experience, I don't think nobody would say that if you are really conscious about your professional life, because the opportunities we have in school exposes us to a lot of things which we do or implement, though in not in the professional angle. For example, if you are volunteering or you are supporting keeping the pay books for your student union, that is a job role you are doing. You can put yourself as the cashier of your student union at so or of your church. Those are work experiences. Those are the things that we are building your skill at that time. But then people look at job experiences as having a formal, organized, or a well-known company where they have worked. You can be working as a desk front desk for your father's business. Those are experiences you've learned. You can use the Excel, you can do all those, you can do accounting, you can do all those things. So those are job experiences that you've learned. So people, when they talk about having no experience, I don't think nobody would say they don't have any job experience, just that the way to integrate it into their CV is what is lacking. And then any HR person on the path asking an entry level for a 10 years experience, I think is not being objective. So that's just my take on that.
All right, thank you. And during my webinars, I also encourage people to volunteer. Like when you go to school, you can still do something on the side, And I
True.
saw on your profile that you've done it, and I have done it. I can actually confirm that it really helps. Maybe you're not
Yeah.
working in the field where you want to be, like actually working professionally, but it gives you some like general experience, like communication skills, problem solving skills, and everything else. Saying that you have worked for National Service Corps and National Nigeria Spelling Bee, are these companies still taking people to volunteer? How does it work there? Or is there any other um, organization that you can recommend one to go and start their volunteering there?
Yeah, in Nigeria, especially when it's a work where people have to pay less, they accept a lot of volunteers and interns, because I will tell you that in Nigeria, due to our population, people like cheap labor. Do you understand? So people would easily agree for you to work for them for any pay that is not under the mandated federal government approved cost of paying for labor. Do you understand? But then the only thing I have about people, I would say the Gen Z, I will use the word, they actually want to get the pay of 10 years experience when they have a year experience. Do you understand? Most times it's more about the money for them. They want to make fast money. They, unlike millennials or baby boomers who are a little bit prescient about the process, they want to skip some certain process. But then they don't understand that there is no how you can skip a process. You must always come back to that process. So that has led to a lot of them feeling that the jobs that are around them are not good enough for them. So, and some of them prefer being content creators in Nigeria now than doing any professional job at that. But I digress from that to tell you that for you to actually have a volunteer experience in Nigeria, it's very open. There are a lot of other experiences I've had with UNICEF, with Save the Children. With it's just that I don't want to make it look as if I have a lot of this thing on my profile that I
No, no,
don't put
no.
them all
You
there.
can share anything. Feel comfortable because like
Yeah,
these
so
informations will be helpful for people.
I've worked as a nutrition survey researcher for Save the Children, where we go to interview people concerning exclusive breastfeeding for children, also malnutrition for children. I learned how to work on cleaning, doing a little bit of Excel and all that. So I think that was also transferable to my HR skills, especially in the areas of employee engagement, trying to do surveys, trying to get percentages of people that did this, the gender ratio and all that. So those are some transferable skills I got from volunteering. So it's very certain in school. It's just that people are more like, what is in for me? But if that
Yeah.
is not your objective, you'll be able to actually have a very good experience working and also schooling. Though I also appreciate that interns be paid, but then it may not be as a full-time staff, just maybe to cover transport and feeding. But then, if you really want to gain experience as a volunteer, there are a lot of opportunities in Nigeria for you to do that.
All right. Thank you so much for this information. So let's ask some more relaxed questions. Would you mind sharing your dream job as a child and a fun fact about you? I will start. Like when I was younger, I wanted to be a doctor or a journalist. My mom, she worked for Médecins Sans Frontières. I think you know. And I used to
Yeah,
see her traveling, like helping people. And I was so fun of it. And she inspired me. But again, life happened. And I find myself working within HR that I enjoy too. And the fun fact about me that I can share is just that usually I enjoy reading while listening to music. I don't know how I do it, but I just do it. What
that makes
about
the two
you?
of us. Well, I
Sorry?
enjoy music while reading as well because I like loud music because if everywhere is quiet, I usually fall asleep. So I usually play loud music or go to a noisy place when I'm reading. When
Okay.
I was younger, I wanted to be a wildlife photographer because I was so much into Nat Geo Wild. I was watching a lot of it. I wanted to be a wildlife photographer, video. I wondered how those guys were able to meet and explain what was happening to the giraffes, leopards, cheetahs, and make it very interesting. Also, I wanted to be an astronaut. That was quite a very huge leap. But then I never got to do any of those. Like when I got older, I discovered what I needed to do or what I had passion for. I now found out that those were more like fantasies. Though I also later went to do photography for a while, but it was
Wow.
not wildlife. It was just normal photography and cinematography.
Yeah, but at least you tried to do what you did. I wish one day I could be a doctor, maybe for a day or two. That would be interesting. All
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right.
yeah.
So now let's talk about the recruiters and okay, maybe interviewers in general. Yes, you work in the human resources, but before you get there, you were surely interviewed by someone. Can you share one good experience you had during an interview or a recruitment procedure, and one, I would say, bad experience that you had with recruiters?
Okay, I'll start with the bad experience first. I was supposed to be in a certain role that was more of a like it was more like the country HR, something like the head of HR for an organization that was quite bureaucratic. The when I came in, I was a bit younger than I was now, but then I had working in the managerial aspect experience. But then they sent me onboarding documents. I hadn't signed my contract, and during the course of the interview, I wasn't turning on my video, so they didn't get to see me physically. So my scoring and everything, they did the background check. But the day that I eventually wanted to do the final this thing, I turned on my video to find out that I was young. That was just it. They decided not to go ahead with giving me the job of the head of human resources because of my age. They felt I was young. I'm too young to be in that role. So one experiences I've noticed a lot about recruiters or in people that recruit is if you have a bias. I think what I've actually learned from that and from life experiences is to recruit people because of the skills they have and what they can do, not from where they come from. I've actually also worked for a Canadian a search company. It's called Search Parts. I think it's also on my LinkedIn. A Canadian is for yeah, I did work there for 6 months, and in particular, they were supposed to be a very diversity and inclusive this thing that we are looking at job opportunities for veterans, people who are people who are disfranchised, like Black people, people like Asians and all that. And then I also found out that inside that idea of trying to be inclusive, there were also some biases that could occur. You understand? I wouldn't really go
Hmm.
into much of that, but then I found out that if it's an organization that was into the recruiting of people who have been disenfranchised because of their race, maybe the kind of job, people who have gone for prisons. So why do we still need to, in the process of bringing these people in order to gain job opportunities, also have a kind of bias against them as well? So that was part of the some of the bad experiences I've had in recruitment. When you bring someone from a particular country or India, they'll be like, no, we don't want Indians. They like for a financial, our contractor would not want an Indian. But we are supposed to be a search company that gives opportunities for people who has been disfranchised in their jobs because of racism and all that. Your job is to convince the contractor that this person is actually capable to do the job and is quite trustworthy, and you have actually vetted the person. But then when you don't do all these things and you just conclude that no, this person is an Indian, or you put it, I don't want Indians or I don't want Nigerians, this actually you going against your own this thing of trying to be an inclusive recruiting firm. Then for the good side of it, I've had good experiences where um, my interview just took like a minute. Immediately, I came into the interview. The recruiter, I greeted the person, and then we had a conversation. They asked my work experience. I mentioned one of my work places. Like, you work for this place? They said, yes. You've worked in this place? I said, yes. They took up the phone immediately and called my supervisor and said, would you give us an idea of who this person is? My supervisor was just able to tell them all I had done at that time, and that was it. That was the way I came into Terry Homes, that job
Wow.
experience. So I just had a 1 minute interview, and the rest was just to talk about my general experience. Right there, and right there, I knew I had gotten the job. So that was one of the most fascinating interviews I've had, and also I've been able to do an interview where I had someone who was a stutterer. Um, though it was quite difficult, but I had to be able to have the patience to listen to what the person had to say. And throughout the course of that interview, though there were gaps in communication for the person, I was able to make the person feel comfortable, and also listen for key places, and then be able to understand that I could actually extend the time a little bit because the person could not cover some things due to maybe the stuttering aspect of it. But then we later found out that this person was actually a very was a guru in computer analysis, and it was one of the best hands we've had so far. So I believe in giving people opportunities to express themselves, and also being able to appreciate people despite the color of the skin, despite their disadvantages, looking at the brighter side, though doesn't mean that I'll take excuses. Do you understand? But then I have, let's say, foresight to actually look at people, allow them to like vent off everything they had to say before making a decision, not just having a look at this person and be like, no, 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 this person not a good fit.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, but you've had interesting experiences with recruiter, especially the 1 minute interview. I'm like, if everyone would do that, that would save people's time, and give a better
Yeah,
experience. And
it was just because my interviewer was from France, and my supervisor was also a French person, so they have a
okay,
relationship. So when I was talking about myself, like the way you asked me to introduce myself, I mentioned everything. She'd be like, "Do you want me to validate this claim?" I said, "Yes, you can." She said, "If I can validate this claim, I guarantee you that you get this job right now, because this is what we are looking at. But if there is anything out of ordinary of everything you've said right now, then this is the end of the interview. Would you want to take that gamble?" I said, "Go ahead." She said, "Okay, I'll call your supervisor." She called my
wow.
supervisor. His name is Aurelian Roxy. And that was it.
And do you
I
speak
just,
French too?
I have a lot of broken French due to the fact that I've
Okay,
worked with a lot of French people, but then sometimes I get stuck. But from their
okay.
gesticulations, I could be able to determine to some extent what they are trying to communicate, but I'm not that good in French. I'm still a beginner.
Okay, interesting. But that's really good. And I want to just agree with what you just said, like giving people opportunity to express themselves. I would like to share an experience that I had. Usually, as recruiters, sometimes we don't have a lot of time. Like you have so many things to do, you're running out of time. You have other interviews to take up and everything else. But being aware, like situational aware, is also very good. I remember having a candidate. This lady, she came, like we were doing virtual interview. While I was speaking to her, I asked her the first question. She was stressed, to be honest. Like her answer was not so good, and her physical attitude, I felt like there's something wrong with this person, and I had to stop the interview and ask her, like, how are you doing? And here she's about to cry. And I was confused. And I'm like, are you okay? What's wrong? Like, do you need some time? Do you want to take a break? And then she was like, no, I'm really stressed because it's my first time being interviewed virtually, and I've been seeking for employment like for a year now, and this is my first time having like receiving an interview invite. And I was shocked. And I was like, okay, I think maybe I should do some therapy here. And I just have to ask her, like, do you need some time to take water? And she was like, no, she's fine. And I had to reassure her. I told her, listen, if you feel like you haven't been employed for a while and this is your first opportunity, it means like you need to grab this opportunity and give the best of yourself. Because yes, I'm willing to recruit someone and I want the person that we're willing to take matches the profile that we're looking for. So if you are more focused into being stressed and full of emotion, that means you won't express yourself as you should and you might miss the opportunity. So take a moment, breathe, and when you're ready, we can restart. Guess what? After this conversation, she basically felt comfortable, and the other questions she responded to, her answers were good. And she even asked if she could go back to the first question and give a different response, what I allowed her to do. And she gave me a better response. So, what you say is true. Sometimes it's really important to let people speak and also to listen to them, not only what comes from their mouth, but also what their body language tells us. So, I 100% agree with what you say. I really agree with that. Can you
All
hear
right.
me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, great. Thank you. So, like that was it from my side. Do you have maybe any topic that you want to share that you prepared and you feel like it will be important for people to know about this particular point?
Well, do I really have any little thing to add? I I do not at this point because we've basically almost talked about everything. But then, in the terms of compensation, I would like to have a little bit added. It's still in the area of in the inequalities that could be for maybe gender inequalities when it comes to pay. Those
Mhm.
are part of the things I was actually trying to ensure. I will not say fight. I was trying to ensure equality of payment for gender. Some organizations they don't pay some females as much as they pay some males because maybe they feel the male is a cultural idea that the men had more responsibility and the females have husbands who would support them. But then pay equality has nothing to do with gender. And for me, I'm actually a very good advocate for to pay people according to the level of job they do. So you see a staff who is also a manager and a male and female staff who are managers and see the male earning something beyond the midpoint of in the salary for that grade and you see a lady or a woman earning below the midpoint for a very longer time. And sometimes it could also be because they are comfortable, they don't really complain. And when you even try to push some of them, they'll be like, no, 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 I'm fine, and all that. And you see a male come and pass them in their pay immediately they come in, and everybody seems comfortable with that. But like I said earlier, I'm not the kind of HR that keeps quiet about this kind of things. So I like having a sense of level playground for everybody. And I think that's what we should look at having equal payment for the male gender, the female gender, and also work for companies where people are paid because maybe they are foreigners, and you see that the nationals are even doing more work than that, than what they are doing. But then we can argue because they are from other countries and it could be bonuses and all that. But then I'll rest my case on that. I don't want to talk a lot about it, but these are the things we should be looking on forwardly in the future in HR.
Right. No worries. I think that's an interesting topic, and sometimes I feel it's really important just to share knowledge and for people to have an idea of how it works in the other countries, because definitely maybe someone from Jamaica or someone from another country would love to come to Nigeria and work. So it's really important for them to have an idea like how it works in order maybe to prepare and in order to know how to go about things, you know. So like for me, with today's world where everyone is connected via the internet, I believe it's important that everyone knows about how things go on the other side so that we can all have a knowledge and we can all be able to prepare when we're willing to migrate somewhere. Okay, so what would be your final advice? Like not your final, but what advice will you share to someone who's willing to follow your career path?
Mm, the advice I'll give someone that wants to be a HR person is you have to have a tough skin to filter information. It also gives you objectivity in your decision making. And also want you to know that people actually recognize the work you do, though they may not say it. But then when you leave, we see a lot of messages. We miss you. We wish things were this way, things were that way, and all that. But then, and the other advice I'll give is that you should also put yourself first. Because I've been in roles where I give everything, pay cuts, just to ensure that things are moving fine. Even when I deserve the promotion and all that, that was way back when I was enacted. I was doing a lot of job and other people were taking the, will I say, taking up the praises and all that. But then I did that because I wanted to learn. So the advice I have to
give to someone that wants to be a HR person starting from the beginning is just get ready at some point to allow people to use you so that you learn.
Mm. Thank you so much. This is a valuable advice, and I'm pretty sure it will help someone out there seeking for guidance or trying to, like, it will encourage people. That's really good. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate speaking to you, Daniel. I've learned a lot, although I'm in the field. But again, as you said, the human resources is vague, and like there's so much that we can talk about, and we'll never finish. I really learned a lot from you and appreciate having this conversation with you. How did you feel during the conversation?
Yeah, it was quite warm, and I appreciate the way you explicitly laid out the questions. It was more like cumulative. It wasn't a question that was disorienting. It led to one question. The questions were connected, so most times my thoughts were more like just flowing into each of the things I wanted to speak to, and I was comfortable with the approach.
Thank you. I'm happy knowing that. Do you have any question for me?
At some point, I know that I will really want to be taking up roles outside Nigeria. So, as someone who has actually had that experience, how does it feel to work outside your country of origin?
All right. To be honest, for me, it's interesting because I started my first career in South Africa. That's not my country. And I've worked with people from different places around the world. Sometimes it's hard to communicate with certain people. Let me put you in a context. Let's say when you speak to someone, I have a particular jargon that I use, okay? And I can use a word. Okay, let me give you like a straight example. Actually, I'm hiring people from Jamaica because I hire from the Caribbeans and Latin America. I'm in Brazil. And in South Africa, usually we say load shedding. That's a very simple example I'm giving you. And when I speak to someone saying load shedding, some people can understand it. Other people will not understand what I say. And I have to say maybe power outage for them to understand what I'm meaning. That's a very
Okay.
basic example, but it happens a lot, maybe in major conversations where I'm talking about something, but the person is understanding it otherwise. So it's really important to try to understand people's background, have a knowledge of their background, and try to align with where they come from and how they see things. It has developed a lot of skills within me. Like I'm really able to easily, how can I say it? I'm really able to be more flexible. Yeah, I easily adapt with people, and it's really interesting. And the other thing is that people sometimes find it hard to to understand where I come from or to understand who I am as a person. And I have to introduce myself all the time and speak about me all the time for them to see, like, oh, okay, oh, this is where you come from. Oh, this is how things go on your side. And some experiences are really different from one person to another. Again, I learn a lot. That's what I can say. And it's really interesting, to be honest. It really is. Can you hear me? Because I can't
Yeah,
hear
I
you. I
can
don't know if
hear
you're saying
you. I
something.
can hear you. I can hear you. Sorry, I had a load shedding on my network, if I use your word.
Oh, okay. Are you sorted now?
Yeah. I'm good.
Great. Thank you. Have I answered to your question, or do you have any other question for me?
You've answered my question, but I just wanted to further inquire, how would you really be open to further opportunities to maybe that would take you out of your country? Though I've had experiences of brief things, but it was within Africa. But like working
I didn't
adjusting to the
understand.
like how what platforms or how were you able to put yourself out there for you to get recruited by uh, companies that are in other countries, though I've had a brief stint working for countries in Africa, but then I've not really been able to work physically there. So, is there a requirement or a certain level of certifications or things that you need to do, or being a member of anybody or any organization before you have such opportunities?
For me personally, when I worked in South Africa, I was in the country and I applied like everyone else. As I mentioned, I started as a customer service agent after my human resources studies. Then I moved along. And here in Brazil, the company that I work for is an international company. I found them on LinkedIn. So they were hiring, actually, they were looking for a customer service representative agent. And then I applied for that position because I was new in the country and they speak Portuguese. My Portuguese level was not yet good. So I was searching for English jobs where they're looking for English speakers. Sorry. Then I applied, and they were interested in my profile. I was hired as a human resources agent, like a recruiter, instead of a customer service representative, a position that I applied for. For Abuse Refuge Org, they hire people from everywhere, and I applied there as a talent acquisition coordinator. I'm not aware of any association or anything like that, but the only thing that I use to search for jobs is LinkedIn. And I can guarantee you when you go on LinkedIn, if you're doing your filtering very well, you can come across many organizations that hire people from everywhere around the world. I do get people who contact me on LinkedIn like to tell me about positions in different places, but sometimes I'm not able to move, or certain things happen where I'm not able to move to those places, or maybe they want someone who's already in the country. But if you are open to relocate, you can always add it on your profile, and you can always search for jobs on LinkedIn, and I can guarantee you opportunities are there. This is what I can share about my experience.
All right, so thank you very much. Thank you. It was a delight speaking with you.
The pleasure is mine. I really appreciate you availing your time to share your experience, and I just want to say thank you. If you don't mind, I would like to know, would you mind me using this video maybe during the webinars that I organize, like to share your experience with people, or post it on my social media platforms?
Yes, no problem. But you can also give me a tag if I'm on the platform, maybe on LinkedIn and all that.
All right. Thank you so much. I wish you a wonderful weekend ahead, and I hope we will meet again someday to discuss further about the topics or any related subject. If you feel like you want to contact me for anything, feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to interact with you again. Okay.
It's okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. Bye.
Yeah, bye.